Hi, I'm Martin Jarvis, and once again I want to welcome you to another perspective. Today we're going to talk about God, the religion, the religions, science, and what we have bought into and why, and how we might want to think outside of the box of our existence to find some clarity, to find some freedom. I believe we're given to understand in certain holy books that the truth will make us free. And so we're going to be searching for some truth today. You know, I was contemplating God by whatever name, Allah, Yahweh, Krishna, various religions. And I was asking myself the question, did the concept of God form religions? Or did the concept of religions form God? And of course, my continuous consideration is that how long before religions did man exist? And did God, what we call God, communicate with humanity, or simply wait until the religions were established? And so what I want to consider today is, does God exist? And when I say God exists, don't be afraid, because I am a minister. My consideration is God that the religions have defined. Does that God exist? Or is that simply the scope that our comprehension can conceive, and so that's where we end it? And so we're just taking things into consideration today. And what I might suggest is that, do we really have the capacity to comprehend that which we call God? Okay. Because for me personally, I believe there is an intelligent existence, because I've had an experience, a personal experience that I cannot deny. I can never be an atheist. But the question is, what is it that I've experienced? I mean, what is it that I've experienced? I think sometimes, like if I were a scientist and I had a Petri-dish, and I created life somehow in that Petri-dish by, introducing maybe a saltine cracker and some water and covering it for a time, and life would appear. And suppose that life would evolve. Would there be a point where that life that had no existence outside of me be able to comprehend me, my birthplace, where I came from, the attributes of me? Or if it came to a point where it realized there was a presence outside of its own existence, would I be God? Okay. To it. And so I'm really deeply considering this because we have to see that regardless of what our creation actually was or how it came into being, that we are all of the same source of that creation. And so as time evolved and as man evolved, 100 million years and so, these religions popped up. And I believe they popped up in a way to attempt to understand what was incomprehensible, to understand life to understand the stars, to understand the planets, to understand everything that in our experience. As we became a certain level of intellect, it was no longer good enough, like our animal, like our dogs or our cats, to simply survive. We needed to understand, okay? And what we couldn't understand, we simply assumed. And I think the assumption that there was God was like an invisible hand leading us to a place the best that we could comprehend. And that would be God. That would be Allah. That would be Krishna. That would be Yahweh. And so many others. But I have to consider that all of the religions, especially the major religions, and the chaos and conflict that they've caused on this earth, the pain and the suffering, the killings, the exploitations, the thievery, the the opportunities there to exploit lands and people and treasure. In my reasoning, it could not be the desire of that from which we've emanated, okay? And so when I look at, like the Crusades, for example, or I look at even what's going on, in Gaza, or anywhere around the world where injustice or murder has taken place in the name of religion and justified by religion, that makes the religion suspect. And so I'm not singling out any religion, because we can go across the globe and pinpoint atrocities attributed to every major religion on this planet, and even the minor ones. Because the religions were created by men, and maybe with good intention, to understand, to comprehend. Sort of like even the scientists, making the discoveries to understand, atoms and things of this nature, only to come across an opportunity to create an atom bomb. Okay, exploring the nucleus, and what happens if I destroy the nucleus of this atom, and what reaction would we have? And so we came to a place, I believe, of innocent investigation. Leading down at times paths that could be used in a dubious way against mankind. Okay, so I want to kind of correlate that science innocence, but still leading to tragedies, to the religions, the innocence of simply trying to understand our existence and define and where we came from. But then that morphing into an exploitive venture that has caused chaos and suffering all over the planet, okay? So then I take, I see suspect, even though I'm a Christian minister, I have to be able to walk with my eyes open and see outside of our reality. I came into this thing from an atheist at 28 years old, just having realized one night by myself that there was God, or there was an entity, there was something greater than me. And that's what brought me into this thing. And I'll be 67 in a couple of weeks, 2025, November. So I've been on this path for a long time. And I've functioned in ministry, I've functioned in church, and my last 20 plus years as a pastor in a local church. So this is real to me. But I have to challenge me. Because what brought me into this thing was the challenge, was an antithesis to what I had believed. And what's moving me at this point, even along the path that leading me to this point, is another challenge. It's easy to just stay where I'm at and preach that this is the an infallible, word of truth, and all the other ones are false. But why do I believe that? Why do you believe what you believe from a religious perspective? Whatever religion you're a part of, whether it's the Christian religion, Islam, Judaism, Hinduism, any other religion on this planet, why do you believe it? You simply believe it because someone told it to you and you chose to believe that, okay? And so what I'm suggesting today is we have to the first step is see the difference between God, whatever, or the creator or the source of our existence, and the religions that we have created in an attempt, maybe initially a noble attempt, but an attempt to define that which we couldn't understand. And so they're not one and the same. And I kind of knew this way back when, almost 30 years ago, probably about 30 years ago, when the AOL chat rooms were happening. Some of y'all remember that. And I was in a religious chat room. It was a Christian chat room. And I posed the question, if you had the opportunity to lose one, which would you lose? Would you lose the Bible, or would you lose your prayer life? And overwhelmingly, lose your prayer life. Because without the Bible, you wouldn't know who God was. And that should have been a red flag, and it kind of was at that time. Because to me then, the reality of God was not really in the hearts of those who believed they embraced God. And what they saw as God was this book, the Bible. And today it could be the Quran, or whatever holy book a particular group embraces, that is synonymous with God, because that's all we have. And my question was that if this book is actually a biography, which would it benefit you more, to have a relationship and continuous conversation with the actual subject of the biography, or with the book about the subject? But see, that wasn't really a reality in the minds of most people. And what I want to suggest is, because deep inside there wasn't a reality of that which this biography was written of. And that's why it'd be so easy to lose the prayer life than to lose this book. And so what I'm suggesting today is our focus has been on the wrong subject. Our subject has been on the book, and to me the book represents the religions. But the religions aren't synonymous with the God we believed we were communing with, or we were to be communing with. And I'm saying that now as well. It's not the religion, and it's very difficult to embrace this or to say this, because the religions are so much a part of us. But that's part of what Mama told us, what Grandmama told us, what everything that we believe from the time we popped into this world. What depending on what nation we were in, what culture we were in, what group we were in. No, Allah is the only God, or God is only God. Yahweh is the only God. We've embraced this. And we know this simply because it's what we were ingrained to believe, and this is what we believe. But I'm saying we have to look outside of this. And like the scientists, it's difficult to define something that you can't see. But like the scientists, in that respect, then we have to look at the evidence of the things that we can see that correlate to this thing that we can't see. So when I look at the Crusades, when I look at what's going on, in Gaza with Israel, when I look at many of the atrocities done in the name of Allah, I look at the Christian religion all over this nation that are persecuting the poor and the infirmed and those fleeing oppression to this nation, how cruel we can be. That cannot be a result of the source of our creation moving or motivating us. I have kids. I couldn't sanction one of my kids hating the other. Yet we so easily buy into that this is the will of God, or this is the will of Allah, this is the will of Yahweh. I need to have this land, and these people are just in my way, so whatever, if I genocide them, it's okay. Native Americans, if I genocide them, okay. Africans, if I enslave them, it's okay. That can't be God. Because we all emanate from the same source, we're all related. But we have justified our atrocities in the names of our religions, which we have made synonymous with God by whatever name. I'm suggesting is that we have just gone so far down this rabbit hole, we haven't a clue. I was on the, this is kind of funny, I was on the internet the other day, and this guy was on there, and he was like, you know, older white guy, his profile picture, he was on a motorcycle, a Harley or something, but he looked clean, somewhat cut, you know, he just reliving some days, you know. And as it turned out, he was a Christian. And he was talking about Bad Bunny, the Super Bowl halftime show to date this program, that Bad Bunny was going to hell, you know. And I responded to him that, you know, when you look at historically the atrocities done by white people all over the world, you might be surprised who's going to be receiving that judgment. And he got mad and said something. And I said, look, who has dropped atomic bombs on people all over this planet? White folks? Because, you know, I'm dealing with this. I have white friends, but I'm dealing with this guy, with this mindset, this Christian, you know, that's justifying negativity, okay, against the person he should be loving according to his own Bible, right? And he said, well, you know, they attacked us first, talking about Japan. And I said, well, how many infants attacked us? How many children attacked us? How many women attacked us, you know? Then he got mad and told me I was talking garbage, and he put this crap sign up, you know what I mean, crap, right? With an image from on social media, and really began to cuss, and he was really vile to me. And I'm like, you're a Christian? You were just talking about his Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and now he's so vile to me on here, and I'm just quoting history to this guy. And so what I'm suggesting is we've bought into this concept of religion, which we've sort of made synonymous with God, and believe that this is we're okay because I'm embracing the right thing. But the moment we're challenged, the real us comes out, recognizing there is no thing to what we have embraced. And I'm saying is that there is an entity. I believe that there is an intelligence. There is that which is the source of our existence. But what we have defined this source as is problematic. And it's demonstrated in the evidence of our lives and of our actions and of our inhumanities. Okay? Now for me, having come from being an atheist, and simply having a revelation, a personal revelation of the existence of what I termed as God, I believe there is an entity that exists, and I believe that entity is good. But I don't believe the religions that we have all created represent this entity. Now, the thing is, every single religion that we have created is going to claim that they're the ones who are properly identifying this entity. And even within the religions, the denominations and the sects within the religions, they're still pointing fingers at each other that you just don't understand and we understand. Well, how does any of them understand? They don't. And even in their holy books, if you look carefully, there are hints in the holy books that give us an understanding of peace, of love, of brotherhood, all of the goodness of humanity. But within these religions, as we have deviated from the source of our existence, we have melded even within the religions the negativities and the harshness and the inhumanities, and somehow correlated it to being okay with God for a particular purpose. That's the Crusades, right? That's what we see in Gaza right now. That what we've seen through the short history of the Americas. That's what we've seen with the exploitation of the indigenous people with sword in one hand and a Bible in the other. Come on now. We know that's true. And so what I'm just suggesting is that we just need to stop and look at the situation of the religions on this planet and recognize that there's something wrong. And so it's not discounting that which the religions get birth attempting to define. It's just that our definitions have morphed into something that is just simply not moral, not humane. And so although we try to define God through our religions, we've understood that there is something. But correlating back to science, we just don't know what that something is, okay? And so it's really simple for me then. As I walk this walk, it's like, well, we may not understand the source of our existence, just as if I had created in a Petri-dish life. At what point in the evolution of that life I created in this Petri-dish will be able to comprehend me and my existence? But as I evolved in that Petri-dish, believing that Petri-dish was the universe, was my galaxy, was my planet, was my existence, I would have to believe that we're in this thing together and we should be working together. And so I think we should consider that. Consider that the religion is not the way to whoever, to whatever. And we should be able to seek whoever and whatever. And recognize that we are one as humanity. If you can't recognize you are one with humanity, you are just lost. And I'm not talking about a religious loss, going to hell and all that stuff. There's so much that we have bought into that we're simply manipulative tools to exploit, to use, and to control people. But we are past that now. And we are seeing, we see evil people now, especially in politics, especially in business, using the religions that the more simple-minded folks have bought into, and using the religion to turn them against other people. It's the same old trick. It's just been modernized. So I'm not trying to be harsh or anything. I'm just saying we need to sit back and try to discover what truth is. Try to recognize that these religions can't be synonymous with the source of our creation. But within those books, within the religious books, are good lessons, are good things to identify. But also within these books are corruptions, are negativities, our harshness toward each other. Oh, God told me to kill everybody. Come on now. There are certain, when we recognize that these religious books were written by men, then we can go through the religious books and pick out all the good stuff, all the moral stuff, all the stuff that makes humane sense, and rid ourselves of the stuff that's obviously corrupt, that's obviously exploitive of other human beings, and recognizing then that if these books were written by men, that stuff is going to be all through there. But like nuggets in all of the holy books, there are good things. There are positive insights and answers that are leading us to places that we have ignored. Okay? And so we could see where even in the Christian Bible, Jesus says to love God with all of your heart, that would be the source of your creation, and to love your neighbor as you love yourself, and that would be all human beings on this planet. We're given simple understanding that what has been demonstrated through the religions on this planet is not the heart of that which is the source of our creation. Now don't get me wrong, when you pray or when you consider and God or Allah, Yahweh, the name is not significant. It's fine. Whatever is comfortable to you. You know, what I'm sharing with you is what I believe, but I do pray and I say Father because of, the path that I've come up in. It's okay. But just to recognize, I think, is the first step that source of our creation, whether you call that source Father or God or Allah or Yahweh or Krishna or whatever, that source of our Genesis is not synonymous with any religious book or any religion at all. And that will give us humility. None of us are good, none of us are great. We're just human beings trying to survive, yet we've affixed ourselves to what we call the perfect religion and has allowed it to justify our negativity and our inhumaneness to other human beings. And we've just been deceived by our mamas. No, they didn't know. Come on, but we should know. We should realize. And so we are functioning in this Petri dish, right? And we are the creation, and we have evolved so well, but not enough to recognize we're simply living in a Petri dish. And as funny as, as we understand that the universe is just ever expanding at an incredible rate, that everything is becoming far and far away from each other, the planets and all this stuff, to where the universe is expanding. And imagine if there are limited things within the universe and it's expanding, we're going to be getting farther and farther away from even our closest neighbors. And then I think, when I think about the universe expanding so quickly like that, I think of maybe some kind of, fungus or some kind of life, that we are aware of, that is just growing real fast, like a mold or something, and to that which might dwell within that mold, they're thinking, man, our universe is growing so quickly, I think in perspective, I think this is why our prayers, so I believe there is an entity, and I believe there is an entity that really cares about us, that loves us, and the entity is good, as we are the creation of that entity. And so I think as litmus tests for us, we must begin to recognize that we're not supposed to be doing evil, okay? Even in the biblical scripture, we're given to understand that whatever you sow, you're going to reap. Whatever you do is going to come back to you. So be good to all men and all. We can't take the hints, No, those guys aren't any good. We are always singling out segments of our population to persecute or to ostracize, to segregate from ourselves, in a sense to make ourselves feel better, because if they are bad, we are good, okay? But we can't do that, because that action itself makes us not good, okay? So we need to do the best we can and recognize, I think, first that what we call God isn't what we think God is, or Allah, or Yahweh, or Krishna. That the religion is not synonymous with that source of our creation, that we need to begin seeking the source of our creation. And that is in prayer, And it's so strange, because it's outside of our realm. If it's not God, then who are you praying to? If it's not Allah, who are you praying to 7 times a day? All this kind of stuff, man. But we have to find a way to begin to eliminate those things in our minds that don't really make sense. Okay? And so just saying there is no creator, there is no source of our creation, that's just a belief as well. And which I can't embrace, because I've had an experience that I don't share very often, but I know within me there is an intelligence greater than me. I just don't know exactly what it is, but I believe that it is good. Okay? And so we even see a prevailing theme in all of our holy books, that there is a mandate or an adulation to mankind to be good to each other, to do right, to take care of those that are suffering. We can even see that in our laws, our laws that go across cultures, across lands, across history. Do not kill, do not steal, those type things. Those laws would have based on a morality that is inherent within us. And I know this is very difficult, because I haven't really given you much. I believe the first step is to realize that religion is not synonymous with that which is the source of our existence. I'm trying to share that there is a source of our existence, and that we need to seek that source of our existence in prayer and in deed. Okay? Do well. As you begin to do well for your fellow human beings, you are going to change. That whole thing about reaping what you've sown? When you do well consistently in the lives of others, there is a transformation that comes upon you. It's sort of like when you're exercising and when you're eating healthy, you're doing well. There is a transformation that comes to you. That's physical. The other is spiritual. So I don't want any confusion to be affixed here. Just recognize initially, and we're going to continue this for about the next year, this series of programs. There is a difference between religion and the holy books and that which is the source of creation, of your existence. Okay? And that's what we need to be gravitating for, attempting to understand. And I believe that if you seek, you'll find. If you knock, it'll be open. If you ask, it'll be given. But we're just not seeking the right thing. We're not asking the right thing. We're not knocking on the right doors. We're not knocking on any doors anyway. If you believe you are where you're supposed to be, why would you be knocking on a door? What would you be seeking? What would you be asking? So we're just here. And I believe that it's expected. Sort of like any parent. I was just writing a letter to my daughter this morning. Writing a letter by hand to my daughter this morning, who's a junior in college, and expressing to her how proud I am because of the opportunities that she has taken advantage of, and how she's grown, and the organization she's a part of, and her grades and her aspirations for the future. She's evolving. As much as I want her to be, she's not that little 5-year-old girl that I was teaching everything about life to all of her life. And I believe that when that source of our creation looks at us, can they say the same thing about us? Have we evolved really? Have we become better? Have we become cognizant of our relationship with all fellow human beings and done them right? And so no, we haven't grown in a positive way. As a matter of fact, we've grown in a more negative way. How can I exploit? How can I make money off of you? Even the religions are doing it, man, and the politicians and the business people and the men to women on a lower level and women to men. Boys to girls, girls to boys, we're exploitive. So what does that source, what would that source of our creation really be thinking about us? And how we respond to that which we've been given, that which we've been placed in the center of. I think we're going to be all right if we see this. So sometimes when I see such chaos as we see even in our nation today, that when that finally crumbles, and it will, that what will be birthed out of it will be something positive. Seek after truth. Seek after truth. If you seek, you will find. If you knock, it will be open. If you ask, it will be given. All these are things we must do because we are driven. We are driven to knock. We are driven to seek. We're driven to ask. And if we're not driven, we stagnate. And the antics of our lives, the antics of our religions, the antics of our society, too often resemble that stagnation. It doesn't have to be that way. It can be a whole lot better. I'm telling you, I've been walking this walk since I was 28, and making my way along the way, trying to do and be the best person that I can be. And you stumble, you fall, you take wrong turns, but the desire is there to recognize, to always be challenging yourself that this can't be it. There must be more. What's next? Let me grow. Let me evolve. It's like we go through all these growth changes inside our mother's womb, and then we are born and we're still going through all these growth changes that we're not even a part of. They're just happening. But we come to a point when we grow up that we're continuing to evolve intellectually. And I think that's where we've dropped the ball. But anyway, all is not lost. I think the end is going to be greater than the beginning. I think we're going to learn. I think we're going to be well. And I want to thank you for joining me this time for another perspective.